Give me a minute and let's talk about how Europe is working to address its production of war materials, which has fallen off the charts, right? I mean, the post World War II prosperity of modern Europe has meant that nobody thought that we would see a conventional war in Europe. And the Europeans stopped producing war materials. And it's one of the things that has driven the post war prosperity. All these people who say that the war is just an excuse for the United States to make money selling weapons don't understand how war works. War makes people poor. Yeah, a few defense industry contractors make a bunch of money, but for the most part, it ruins lives, destroys people's lives, takes the people who make the money out of the system. It's stupid beyond words. Unless you're one of that 0.0001% of the Russians who own more than the 98.9% of the other Russians put together. That's the only people that it makes sense for. So the Germans and the Danes, and here we can see German Prime Minister, the Danish Prime Minister, and then the CEO of Rheinmetall, breaking ground on a new ammunition plant in Unterloss. I apologize, it's probably not quite right. Germany, that will, when it is done, manufacture about 200,000 NATO standard 155 millimeter shells a year. Okay? So in a war where the Ukrainians and the Russians are blown off as many as 40,000 shells a day, what is that? That's about the equivalent of 5 days worth of shells. And it's going to take them a year to build the plant, and then it's going to take a year for them to ramp up production. So it's hard. It's hard to keep up with a war like this. And they're not the only ones who are trying. We all got to be in this. And that's why American manufacturing is so important, because we just produce more of this shit than anybody else. And our shit works. That's the other thing, unlike the Russian shit. Not only will they produce shells, NATO standard 155 millimeter shells, but they'll also be producing warheads and other weapons. And it's a 500 million euro investment that Rheinmetall is making. And it is supported by both the Danish and the German governments. It's a cooperative effort to ensure the long-term security of the European Union. It's a good move. It's a good move for everybody. It's worth mentioning that Rheinmetall has also partnered with Ukraine and will be breaking ground on a factory for defense operations productions in Ukraine. And that's good news for the Ukrainians, since only domestically produced weapons can be used on the territory of Russia. And so the more that the Ukrainians can produce here at home, the more opportunity there is to strike those critical Russian logistics hubs, military targets, and oil depots and refineries inside of the Russian Federation itself. So kudos to Germany, kudos to Rheinmetall. It's good news for everybody.